everybody, it's me, Zach, this is Judy, and welcome back to our channel. Hey everybody, how's it going? I'm just here to check in real quick with y'all today, just with a few updates about just things happening on the internet. To be quite honest, I just was collecting all of this information today because last night I was truly living my absolute best life at the Chromatica Ball with Lady Gaga at the Wrigley Field here in Chicago, and it was just, I've been to several Lady Gaga concerts at this point, okay? I saw her when she did the Monster Ball tour, I saw the Born This Way tour, and I saw the Joanne tour, okay? So I've seen a lot at this point, but this was maybe my favorite experience I've had, and it was just truly amazing. And then today I woke up and I was like, oh, it's time to go look at the internet, see what you missed in girl world today. And I just thought maybe I could do like a little catch up on a couple things that happened that maybe might be of interest to you. I think I'll probably start with the less serious Chantal nonsense, mostly just because, well, we'll get to it. It's more lighthearted, and then we can talk about some of the things that Amberlynn covered on her Instagram stories last night, which I just think are so out of pocket and wild, and I'm not sure she really thought through talking about those things on Instagram. So if you're not interested in Chantal and you want to skip to Amberlynn, I'll leave some timestamps. Honestly, the Chantal stuff's going to be pretty short. And mostly, I don't think a whole lot about Chantal Marie, Chantal Show, Foodie Booty, Flobby Bobby, Big Beautiful Me, The Daily Chantal, The Chantal Show, Chantopolis, whoever, whatever. I think she had a different new name there at some point in the last few months. I really, truly don't think about her all that often these days, and I just, would love to encourage y'all to release her from your mind like that. But I do every once in a while get this idea of, maybe I'll go and react to something that she recently posted, or maybe I'll just go check in to see if anything's changed. And honestly, truly, not a whole lot's changed. She's still doing the same exact stuff. It's just a different day. And most of the time she's complaining about not her doodle do, Dee Dee mega doo doo, or she's suggesting that she's in all these relationships with all of these men, but it turns out she's probably just paying those men, which support sex workers, honestly, truly. But it's the same shit. However, I saw this clip, and maybe not even a clip, I think it was just a screenshot of Chantal just full on lying in a field with her panties hanging out. And I was like, what could this possibly be from? So I'm just gonna show you the clip.
I don't think they saw it very well. You should do it again.
No! They didn't see?
I'm joking.
I'm dizzy.
It's a tiny hill. Yes, it is. It's a very short hill for a very short person.
This is what happens when I don't do drugs.
Now the context, okay, I know, that was funny. You could laugh. The context of all of this is, I guess she decided to go out for a walk in a park with Pete's. And this is something she decided to do, was just go walk up to a hill and roll down. Now, if you're on a walk out in nature, why are you wearing flip-flops? You know how sore those feet are gonna be. But then second of all, if you're let me go roll around in the grass, why are you wearing a dress? What did you think was gonna happen? It's one thing when she's out here every other day flashing the people of YouTube with her bits and her bobs, But you are in public, ma'am. That is a show a lot of people in public didn't pay to see. At least your VIBzers know what they're getting into when they're sitting here on your channel paying you however much money a month to see you flash your bits and bobs, okay? The people of the public of Canada, they didn't choose that. They didn't choose that. Not at all, not even a little bit, bestie. Like, get it together, girl. Please. Please, for the sake of the great citizens of Canada. But yeah, that's all I really have to say. I honestly have been so close many times to just like unsubscribing so it takes up less space in my subscriptions page. But there's like the tiniest, smallest part of me that's still vaguely interested in her, but not even really that. And honestly, I feel like my mentals have been so much better when I haven't been worried about what Chantal Marie is overdoing on her channel. You know what I'm saying? So that's that on that. When it comes to Amberlynn, however, she is doing maybe the utmost on Instagram. And I guess, want to preface me talking about this particular set of comments from her on Instagram with saying that I intentionally, when she was diagnosed with cancer, took like a very long, extended time away from talking about Amberlynn because, well, one, I think I've shared, I had somebody in my family who was going through something very similar. It just hit very close to home for me at the time. And then two, that was like kind of when I started realizing like talking about her health isn't beneficial for me, like, because I'm not a health professional. I don't know shit about this outside of like the personal experience of my family member. And like, it's not doing anything for a whole bunch of strangers on the internet to be like analyzing her health or whatever. So it wasn't until she like stopped talking about that extensively on her channel that I started covering her again. Although obviously it does come up. I mean, we've talked about it even recently on this channel, but like that doesn't seem to be the crux of what she's talking about on a daily basis in her videos. You know what I'm saying? So I guess all of that to say is like, I don't want to make any assessments about her health, what she should or shouldn't have done. But what I will say is that the way that she's talking about her relationship with Becky and what Becky's responsibility in said relationship when it came to her having cancer, I think is wildly out of line. And even if this is a way she feels, I don't think she really has thought through what she's putting on the internet. So I guess in case you're not on Instagram or Twitter, where honestly I've also seen a lot of screenshots being shared, let me just share a little bit of the stuff that she's been saying over there on the Instagram so you can get a better idea of what's going on here, okay? I will say, honestly, I think some of this all started with Amberlynn, I think a couple days ago, answering a question about whether Becky did or didn't have to wipe her ass after the hysterectomy, which I think is like a relatively normal thing post-surgery to need help doing all sorts of stuff. And honestly, Amberlynn made it out to be like Becky was trying to put Amberlynn on blast for that, but that's not how I remember it. I remember Becky like quietly whispering, but just whispered a little bit too loud about it. So it's really silly to me. I don't think either of them are bad people for like, one, Becky for caring for Amberlynn and taking care of her in that way, or Amberlynn being like, one, mildly embarrassed that had to happen, or two, needing it to happen because she had like a relatively major surgery. I think that's realistic that you're gonna need help doing things. But the stuff from yesterday is just, I think, past that. Like, it's wild. So somebody said, do you think your cancer journey would have been different if you were with your current girlfriend? And Amberlynn's response was, I would have went to the doctor sooner. I wouldn't have ever waited till I was bleeding to death to be rushed to the ER. Which I think is interesting because I think for those of us that followed along, like the year leading up to that, there were all types of times where Amberlynn said that there was something going on with like her cycle and things going on with her body, that she didn't know what was going on, didn't feel right, and she continuously just pushed it off herself and like didn't go to the doctor and things like that. And that's not to say, as she'll suggest here in a little bit, that like Becky might have had something to do with, like, calming her down about that or making her less concerned about that. But ultimately, end of the day, that's Amberlynn's responsibility to be like, I need to go to the doctor to seek medical attention. So then somebody said, are you insinuating that it's Becky's fault that you didn't go to the doctor sooner pre-cancer? And Amberlynn's response was, she didn't seem concerned, which made it to where I was less concerned than I should have been. I'm pretty sure we talked about this on live stream, but she didn't even want to take me to the ER the night I was bleeding to death. She admits that it was wrong of her, and I accepted her apology, and I hold zero resentment. Zero resentment, but mind you, she's like airing out all this dirty laundry right now on Instagram, like a year after they've been broken up. Okay, but just keep that in mind. but my girlfriend now would have literally forced me into the gynecology office even if I was bleeding for more than 2 months, let alone almost 3 years. Sometimes your surroundings and environment play a big role in situations like this. Just remember to advocate for yourself, because I didn't till I finally did, and it was almost too late. It's up to you to save yourself, no one else. And you know what? The most honest part of this whole message is, and I think I agree with what Amberlynn is saying, is that at the very end of that is that I think the revelation she's had from this is that she needs to advocate for herself, right? And I think that's probably true for anybody. But she only says that after saying Becky didn't do enough and my girlfriend now would do it. Like you're literally, and I got a lot of this information, I already saw a lot of this for the first time from Val, who is at On Program on Twitter. So if my thoughts seem to reflect her thoughts a little bit, that's why, because like I'm very much in agreement with what Val had to say, which is you're creating this hypothetical situation to say what your girlfriend now would or wouldn't have done in that situation, only to be like, she absolutely would. You don't know that. You don't, like as Val said, your girlfriend can't even get you to put down a KFC chicken bowl, let alone force you to go to the hospital, let alone force you to go to the gynecologist. You know what I'm saying? Like, who knows what your current girlfriend would have done at the time, because your current girlfriend wasn't there. And that's also taking away the fact that, like, Becky has been through a lot in her life. Becky has experienced a lot and was going through a lot of different things. So, like, to say that Becky's response to you going through something traumatic would be the same as what your current girlfriend would be is just unfair, and, again, a hypothetical situation that we actually don't know what would really ever happen. So, yeah, I agree. You need to advocate for yourself, which also means don't put any of this energy onto Becky or even your current girlfriend, because it's neither of their responsibilities to take care of you and make sure that you get the health care that you need. Unfortunately, you put yourself in this situation where you can't drive yourself anywhere and where you're dependent on a partner to take care of you to some extent. I mean, at the very least, you're dependent on them to get you around, to drive you places. Like, sure, you can order Instacart to get groceries delivered to your home, but you're never going to be able to drive yourself to a hospital to get health care, right? And so I think it's, like, so rude to just put all of that energy on Becky when, like, you've literally, you know, put yourself in this situation. And absolutely, I think everybody is ultimately responsible for advocating for themselves. So, it doesn't stop there, though. She does go on to continue to say more stuff. So, Becky can't make one comment about you, but you repeatedly shit on her. And note, I don't know if the shit in that situation and that question was supposed to be a pun or not, but I think this person is referring to Becky saying, like, yes, I had to wipe Amberlynn's ass. And Amberlynn said, I'm not shitting on her. I'm sharing my cancer story, which also includes situations surrounding the person I was with at the time. I understand y'all stan Becky, but I need to feel safe to speak about my experiences with cancer without people thinking I'm being rude when I'm just sharing reality. So I think where she makes the misstep with this particular thing is like, yeah, absolutely, you should share your cancer story. And if Becky talking you out of going to the hospital or things like that is part of your cancer story, then I think that's fine. But the thing is here is the reason that people are interpreting this as shade towards Becky is because, like many times, you have claimed that wifey supports you in ways that no other partner has had without being able to say what wifey really could do in that situation, right? So you're making the direct comparison between Becky and wifey, and you're assuming what you think wifey would do in that situation, all to like shade and subtly make Becky look bad. It's one thing to just be like, hey, Becky wasn't so super concerned about what was going on with my body, so I was less concerned about it, and I wish I'd been concerned a little sooner and done something sooner. That's a whole different way to share your story than to bring your current girlfriend, who wasn't a part of your story at the time, and say, oh, she would have taken care of me. She would have made sure I got the health care I needed. Like, that's just a whole different story. And then another person said, blaming Becky for your cancer? What the actual hell is wrong with you? And Amberlynn said, I literally didn't say that. LMFAO. You are putting words in my mouth. Cancer was my fault, period. And I will agree. I don't think that Amberlynn was blaming Becky for her getting cancer. I think that she was just blaming Becky for not seeking help sooner. So I would agree Amberlynn was not blaming Becky for it, but I do think she was like trying to insinuate that she would have gotten help sooner had it not been for Becky. And then this person said, for fuck's sake, take responsibility for your own health, Amber. Your body showed you all the signs. Becky didn't keep you prisoner. And Amberlynn said, I never said she did. I just felt less concerned when the person I loved didn't seem concerned. That's literally it. I'm blaming myself, not Becky. But somehow y'all are twisting it. Not surprised. This is the difference. So, like, you're not blaming Becky for you getting cancer, but you are blaming her for not taking things more serious in the first place. Like, the way that, Amberlynn talks about people twisting her words a lot, but she twists her own words to, like, try to fit whatever excuse, narrative, etc. she might need at the time. So she often confuses things a lot by just, like, adding things that, like, contradict each other right away to the point that it seems confusing and makes you feel like you didn't just read something you just read. You know what I'm saying? And then somebody said, STFU, you were not bleeding to death. The shade you throw at Becky is so disgusting. She said, sharing my story is now me shading Becky. Y'all reached so far. And you have no idea what I was experiencing, so please don't act like you were there. Thanks. And again, I think that it would be one thing if you were just sharing your story, but you were shading Becky when you brought wifey into it. That's my opinion. Another person said you weren't bleeding to death. I see trauma and patients can't post on Snapchat while it's happening. I don't remember what that's about. I feel like, well, Amberlynn's gonna explain this, but I do feel like she posted stuff way after the fact, like after she had gotten home from the hospital. But she said, I never posted on Snapchat while it was happening. Who told you that? Becky was taking pictures of the first 5 minutes I was in the hospital. I was there for almost 24 hours. I posted them on Snapchat months later because people weren't believing what I went through. Those photos were only from the first 5 minutes of bleeding. It only got worse after that, but by that point, she was too scared to take any more photos. Please stop spreading. Oh, I added the please. Stop spreading false information. Again, you were not there. Invalidating what I went through just because I'm Amberlynn Reed and you dislike me is honestly disgusting. That night was the scariest night of my whole life, and I've been through some shit. And I would agree. I fully believe that it all happened. I think if people are now trying to say, like, oh, you didn't experience that wasn't real, like, I don't buy into that. I don't believe that. I believe she had cancer. I really think that the people that have these conspiracy theories about her not having it when she showed so many things while it was happening to verify that she did, to me, it just seems so silly. So, like, I don't know. I would appreciate if y'all would not perpetuate that, because I don't know that there's actual proof outside of Nick Ocado suggesting that he knows something that we don't all know. You know what I'm saying? And maybe I don't have all the information myself, but I haven't seen anything, and people usually send me lots of stuff. And then somebody said, but when Becky was taking the wrong meds, everyone blamed you for not doing enough. Narratives. Exactly. I don't understand how people can say I didn't do enough for Becky when she needed me, but literally turn right around and tell me that Becky shouldn't have to be there for me and I need to be there for myself. Make it make sense. And guess what? We were both there for each other in our own ways. We are not robots. We are humans. We make mistakes. We show concern in our own way. And yeah, I think I agree with Amberlynn here too, honestly. I don't know that, like, Becky had to be perfect or human, and I don't know that she had to or was responsible for everything that Becky did either, you know? I just think that the real inappropriate behavior that I think a lot of people, or I'm guessing a lot of people are upset here about, are that you are comparing Becky's behavior to what you think your ideal woman of a partner, wifey, would do in that situation, when that's not fair, because that's not the situation. And just like you said, everybody's human and nobody's perfect. So what's to say that wifey wouldn't make the same mistake, you know? Like, that's the part that I have a problem with. I don't blame you or Becky for anything. Like, whatever happened in your relationship happened. But to say you're not shading Becky when you're, like, making direct comparisons between her and your ideal perfect partner of a woman, wifey, that's shady to me. And then they said, you did blame Becky though, saying she wasn't concerned, so that's why you let it go, WTF. And Amberlynn said, that's not me blaming Becky. I am admitting that it's my fault for not advocating for myself. I just didn't care enough, so I shoved all my fears away. That is my fault, mine, only mine. And I think she gets it there, maybe. I feel like maybe she's starting to realize it's a losing battle. And then she had one last message about Becky, and somebody said, if you want to stop being accused of shading Becky, stop answering questions about her, which I think is the best advice, because, like, you could just have said nothing and you would not be in this situation, bestie, but instead you chose to answer people who were purposely antagonizing you about Becky, purposely wanting you to start some shit with Becky, and you did it. You did it. Like, I think, and, you know, sometimes I forget that people don't necessarily know how Instagram works, but I was just watching a Peter Bod video where he was talking about Jeffree Star's ex-boyfriend answering some Instagram questions, and Peter was like, in case you didn't know, like, you have to go through and pick out these Instagram questions. So I just want to reiterate that here, that, you know, Amberlynn has said herself that she gets hundreds of questions when she does these Q&As, and she actively has to go in and pick those. You're not required to answer every single question that comes up in an Instagram Q&A, and yet Amberlynn handpicked these questions to answer, okay? She could have just said absolutely nothing, and she wouldn't be where she's at right now. But she felt that these were important things to say and do on her Instagram, okay? So just keep that in mind. But yeah, the person said you should just stop answering these questions. And she said, yeah, I'm done. People will literally twist anything I say to cause drama. The reaction channels are planning their content now. I have to say, when she did this, I was living my life at Lady Gaga. I was not sitting there waiting and plotting to make some content about it. She said, hi, Callie. When do you plan on doing some of your own content? Let's see your home, what you eat in a day, etc. Let's talk about those scams. Oh, wait, which, like, I'm not here to talk too much about Callie because I'm not interested in doing that. But I will say, I've seen more of Callie's home than I've seen of a lot of reaction channels, myself included. So that I don't know where she's coming at with that. I think she thought she did something there, but I'm not sure Amberlynn did really truly what she thought she was doing. But anyways, that's that. That's all I got. That's all I got to say about that whole situation. I don't know. I think I understand what Amberlynn was mostly trying to say, which is just that, like, she has learned that she needs to advocate for herself. And I think, honestly, if she would have left it at that without bringing in the comparisons of Becky to wifey, when those comparisons are unfair and also based on, like, a lot of hypotheticals about what wifey would do in a situation she was never a part of and could never be a part of again, I think it's just unfair, and that's why people think it's shady, honestly. So anyways, that's all I have time for today. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. Join me again tomorrow, where I'm sure I will do some kind of reaction to an Amberlynn vlog. And if you're new to my channel, make sure to subscribe down below. Hit the bell button so you get notifications every single time I post. And make sure to leave me a comment, hit like, click share, and follow me on all of my social media. I had fun with y'all today. I hope you did too. And I'll see you all next time. Bye!